Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we explore a truth that separates dreamers from achievers. Success is never an accident, it's a habit. Our destiny isn't determined by sudden bursts of inspiration, but by the quiet routines we choose to repeat. Let's uncover how to force ourselves, gently yet firmly, into habits that make success unavoidable. Discipline is the quiet engine behind every lasting achievement. It isn't glamorous and it rarely feels exciting, yet it is the single factor that separates wishful thinking from tangible progress. Most people wait for the perfect mood, the spark of motivation, or the sudden surge of inspiration before they act. But the truth is that waiting for motivation is like waiting for a lightning strike. You cannot predict when it will come, and you certainly can't build a life around it. Discipline is different. Discipline shows up whether you feel ready or not, and it rewards you every time you honor it. Think of discipline as the daily agreement you make with yourself. Each morning you decide to honor the commitments you set yesterday, not because you feel like it, but because they matter to the person you are becoming. That agreement might mean waking up an hour earlier to write, to exercise, to study, or to plan. It might mean saying no to distractions that give you quick pleasure but steal long-term growth. Every time you keep that agreement, you prove to yourself that your word has weight. That proof builds self-respect, and self-respect creates momentum. Consider how the world's greatest achievements are rarely sudden events. The athlete who stands on a podium has repeated the same training routine for years. The entrepreneur who seems to find overnight success has spent thousands of unglamorous hours refining skills, testing ideas, and enduring failures. Discipline is what bridges the gap between starting and succeeding. Talent might open a door, but discipline keeps you walking through it, day after day, when no one is watching and applause is absent. Daily discipline also compounds over time, creating effects that are invisible at first. Imagine dropping a single coin in a jar each day. For weeks it looks insignificant, but after a year, the jar overflows. In the same way, the small choices you make, reading a few pages, taking a short walk, practicing a skill, stack quietly until they transform your life. This compounding power is why discipline matters more than intensity. A single burst of effort can feel heroic, but steady, consistent effort changes everything. Another reason discipline is so powerful is that it rewires the mind. Each disciplined action strengthens the neural pathways associated with focus and perseverance. At first, you have to force yourself to begin. Over time, the act becomes natural, even automatic. What once felt like a struggle becomes your default mode. This is how habits form, repetition underpinned by discipline, until you no longer debate whether to act, you simply act. It's important to understand that discipline is not punishment. It is a form of self-care. Choosing to stick to a healthy routine, to save money, to learn, or to train is a gift to your future self. You are telling the person you will be tomorrow, I respect you enough to make the right choice today. That perspective transforms discipline from a burden into an act of love. When you embrace discipline as the foundation of success, you stop chasing fleeting motivation. You recognize that every small, deliberate action is a vote for the life you want. Over days, those votes accumulate into identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, someone who keeps promises, someone who builds rather than wishes. And when you consistently live in alignment with that identity, success stops being a distant dream and becomes an inevitable outcome. Environment is the silent sculptor of human behavior, shaping every decision we make and every habit we form. You might believe willpower alone determines whether you stick to a new routine, but the truth is that your surroundings either reinforce or sabotage your efforts long before you summon inner strength. Imagine trying to eat healthy while your kitchen is stocked with sugary snacks, or attempting deep work with your phone buzzing at arm's length. In those moments, discipline isn't just about saying no. It's about fighting a constant stream of subtle triggers. The easiest way to win that battle is to design a world around you that makes the right choice the natural choice. Consider how cues in your environment nudge you. A cluttered workspace whispers procrastination. A quiet, well-lit desk invites focus. Our brains evolved to conserve energy by following the path of least resistance. If temptation is within reach, resistance feels exhausting. But if distractions are out of sight and positive prompts are front and center, good behavior requires almost no effort. That's why small environmental tweaks can outperform sheer willpower. Move the TV remote to another room and place a book on the coffee table. You'll find yourself reading without a pep talk. Keep a water bottle on your desk and you'll drink more without ever setting a reminder. The people around you are also part of your environment. Their habits, energy, and expectations set a standard you absorb almost unconsciously. Surround yourself with friends who complain and settle, and mediocrity will feel acceptable. Spend time with people who challenge themselves and celebrate growth, and you'll instinctively rise to meet that level. This isn't about discarding relationships, it's about curating the influence that fills your daily life. Choose companions, mentors, and colleagues whose presence fuels ambition and integrity. Their discipline will rub off on you, and your own persistence will strengthen in return. Technology is another invisible force shaping your environment. The notifications on your phone, the algorithm recommending the next video, the constant lure of instant gratification, each is designed to capture attention. To cultivate success, take control of these digital surroundings. Turn off non-essential alerts. Create phone-free zones and hours. Use apps that limit social media during work sessions. By setting boundaries, you reclaim the mental space to focus on meaningful tasks instead of reacting to endless distractions. Your environment also includes the routines and rituals that frame your day. Morning light streaming through a window, a particular playlist that signals it's time to write, a neatly organized closet. All these send powerful messages to your subconscious. They tell you who you are and what matters. Build rituals that reinforce your goals. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Prep nutritious meals in advance. Keep your workspace ready for immediate action. These cues become silent allies, reminding you of the person you aim to become. Ultimately, friendly habits are not sustained by willpower alone, but by ecosystems carefully arranged to make success the default. When you step into a space designed for growth, you no longer wrestle with constant temptation. You flow toward better choices almost automatically. Adjust the physical spaces you inhabit, the people you spend time with, and the digital stimuli you allow. Each deliberate change is a vote for your future. Over time, the environment you shape will shape you in return, and the habits that once felt forced will become your natural way of life. Clarity of purpose is the quiet engine that powers every lasting achievement. Without it, even the most disciplined routine eventually loses strength, like a river that dries when it has no source. Before you try to force any habit into your life, you must first ask yourself why that habit deserves a permanent place in your days. People often jump straight into action, waking up at dawn, hitting the gym, reading a book a week, only to burn out because they never defined the deeper reason behind those efforts. A habit without purpose is like steering a ship with no destination. You might move, but you will drift. To uncover this purpose, begin by looking inward. Ask what truly matters to you, not what social media or your peers say should matter. Are you seeking financial independence, mental peace, creative mastery, or the ability to serve others? Each answer calls for different habits. If your goal is financial freedom, you might need habits of budgeting, learning, and disciplined investing. If your heart is set on better health, you might need consistent exercise, mindful eating, and proper rest. When the reason is clear, the required habits reveal themselves almost naturally. You no longer wonder whether you should stick with them. You understand that abandoning them means betraying your own values. Purpose also protects you when the road grows difficult. There will be mornings when the alarm feels cruel, when results seem invisible, when doubt whispers that you are wasting your time. In those moments, clarity of purpose is the voice that answers back. It reminds you that each step is part of a bigger picture. You aren't just running a mile, you're building a stronger heart to live a longer life. You aren't merely saving money, you're securing freedom for your family's future. This mental connection between habit and outcome transforms effort into meaning. It's important to write your purpose down. Thoughts left floating in the mind can fade or distort, but words on paper confront you every day. A written statement acts like a contract with yourself. Keep it visible on your desk, your mirror, or the lock screen of your phone, so it can guide your choices when temptation strikes. This practice turns an abstract desire into a daily commitment. Equally crucial is revisiting your purpose regularly. Life changes, and so do ambitions. A habit born from an outdated goal will feel heavy and forced. Set aside moments, perhaps monthly or quarterly, to ask if your current routines still point toward your true north. Adjust if needed, not out of laziness but out of honesty. Real clarity is flexible enough to grow with you. When you know your why, habits become expressions of identity rather than chores. You start to see yourself as the person who reads daily, not someone who is merely trying to read. You become the individual who exercises because health defines you, not because a calendar told you to move. Purpose transforms external rules into internal character, and that shift is what makes change permanent. So before you commit to any habit that promises success, pause and look deeper. Decide what success means for you, and let that vision fuel every action. With clarity of purpose, discipline feels less like forcing and more like fulfilling. Your habits will no longer be random tasks on a checklist. They will be the natural steps on the path you have chosen, with open eyes and a determined heart. Delayed gratification is one of the most powerful forces behind lasting achievement, yet it's often the most difficult to practice. At its core, it is the ability to resist an immediate reward in favor of a larger or more enduring gain in the future. It sounds simple, but in a world overflowing with instant pleasures, fast entertainment, quick food, immediate notifications, it is a skill that requires conscious effort and training. The people who master it stand apart because they understand a timeless principle. True success is rarely sudden. It is the natural harvest of seeds planted with patience and care. Consider how this principle works in everyday life. A student who chooses to study rather than binge-watch a series is not denying fun forever. They are exchanging a fleeting distraction for a brighter academic future. An athlete who wakes before dawn to train is not merely suffering through the early morning chill. They are building the strength and discipline that will carry them to victory months or years later. In each case, the immediate pleasure is easy and tempting, but the long-term reward, confidence, achievement, self-mastery, is infinitely more valuable. Science backs this up. Classic psychological studies such as the well-known marshmallow experiment revealed that children who could wait for a bigger treat later in exchange for resisting a small treat now were more likely to succeed academically, professionally, and personally as adults. The lesson is clear. The ability to delay gratification predicts a person's capacity to achieve meaningful goals. But it's not about innate willpower alone. It's about creating habits and environments that make patience easier to practice. Developing this ability starts with a shift in mindset. You must learn to view the discomfort of waiting as an investment, not a punishment. Instead of seeing sacrifice as loss, see it as planting. Every choice to delay gratification is a deposit in the bank of your future. When you skip an unnecessary purchase to save for a business venture, when you spend an hour learning a new skill instead of scrolling through social media, you are strengthening the muscle of self-control and signaling to yourself that the future you desire is worth more than momentary ease. Practical strategies can help. Break long-term goals into smaller milestones so that each step offers its own sense of accomplishment. Celebrate progress in meaningful ways that don't derail your larger aim. Surround yourself with people and environments that reinforce your vision, friends who value growth over indulgence. Spaces free of constant temptation. Create systems that make the better choice the easier one. Prepare healthy meals in advance. Schedule time blocks for focused work. Turn off notifications during important tasks. These structures reduce the mental friction that often leads to impulsive decisions. The deeper reward of delayed gratification isn't only the external success it brings, better health, financial freedom, professional advancement, but also the internal transformation. Every time you choose the long game, you are reshaping your character. You become someone who trusts your own discipline, someone who can endure discomfort for the sake of purpose. This quiet confidence radiates into every area of life, making you less dependent on fleeting pleasures and more anchored in meaningful pursuits. In the end, delayed gratification is not about denying yourself joy, it's about elevating it. It teaches you to savor the eventual reward because you know the effort that earned it. Success built this way is deeper, steadier, and far more satisfying than anything gained in haste. When you cultivate patience and practice the art of waiting wisely, you transform time into an ally, and the future becomes a place you are actively shaping rather than passively approaching. Self-observation is one of the most underestimated tools for personal transformation. Most people drift through their days on autopilot, repeating behaviors without ever pausing to see how those behaviors shape their results. They blame circumstances, luck, or other people for the state of their lives, yet they rarely stop to examine their own routines. The truth is simple. You can't change what you refuse to see. Observation is the first doorway to self-mastery, because you cannot improve a habit until you're fully aware it exists and understand the patterns surrounding it. Begin with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of labeling a habit as good or bad, look at it like a scientist gathering data. Carry a small notebook or use a digital tracker and write down what you do from the moment you wake up to the time you go to bed. Record when you check your phone, how long you spend eating, how often you pause your work, and what emotions accompany those moments. At first it might feel tedious, but soon you'll start to see the truth of your daily life laid bare. Those gaps of wasted time, the hidden triggers that lead to distractions, the emotional cues that spark overeating or procrastination, all of them become visible under the light of careful attention. As you track these details, patterns begin to emerge. Maybe you discover that every afternoon around 3 you reach for a sugary snack, not because you're hungry but because you're bored or tired. Perhaps you notice that a quick check of social media turns into a 30-minute spiral just before bed, cutting into your sleep and making your morning sluggish. These insights are gold, because awareness itself starts to weaken the grip of unconscious behavior. The moment you notice a pattern, you create a gap between the urge and the action. That small pause is where choice is born. From here, you can test small changes like an experimenter. Replace that mid-afternoon sugar rush with a brisk 5-minute walk or a glass of water. Set a timer to remind yourself to shut down screens an hour before bedtime. Measure the results. Did your energy improve? Did your sleep deepen? Adjust and continue. Self-observation is not about perfection, it's about iteration. Every day you gather more data, refine your approach, and shape your environment to support the habits you want. Another powerful benefit of observing yourself is emotional insight. Many habits are responses to feelings we don't want to face: stress, loneliness, anxiety. By noticing not just the action but the emotion preceding it, you begin to understand your deeper motivations. Instead of battling yourself, you learn to meet your needs in healthier ways. Maybe you recognize that you procrastinate when a task feels overwhelming, so you break it into smaller steps and reward progress. Over time, you build self-knowledge and compassion, which strengthen your ability to stay consistent. This practice also fuels accountability. When you have a written record of your actions, it becomes difficult to hide behind excuses. Numbers don't lie. Seeing exactly how you spend your hours forces you to confront the reality of your commitment. It also gives you proof of progress, which can be incredibly motivating. A streak of days showing steady improvement becomes its own reward, reinforcing the habit of observation itself. Ultimately, self-observation turns your life into a living classroom. Each day offers lessons about what drives you, what distracts you, and what truly matters. By watching yourself with clarity and honesty, you gain the power to steer your choices instead of being driven by them. Habits then become conscious tools rather than invisible chains, and success stops being an accident. It becomes the natural outcome of a life examined, adjusted, and intentionally lived. Imagine the power of a single small action, repeated every day. At first, it hardly seems to matter. One more page read, one more push-up, one more phone call, a slightly healthier meal. Yet these tiny steps are the real architects of lasting success. The mind often looks for grand transformations, waiting for a breakthrough or a sudden flash of inspiration, but true progress is almost always the result of small, consistent improvement. When you focus on getting just a little better each day, 1%, a fraction of a step, you trigger a process of growth that compounds far beyond what you can see in the moment. Think of how compound interest works in finance. A single dollar invested with steady growth becomes a powerful force over time, not because of a dramatic spike, but because each gain builds on the last. Habits work the same way. Each minor upgrade, learning a new word, practicing a skill for 10 minutes, taking a brief walk instead of skipping it, layers on top of yesterday's effort. After a week, you might not notice much change. After a month, the difference starts to show. After a year, those small daily gains create a transformation that seems almost unbelievable to anyone who wasn't watching the process unfold. The beauty of this approach is that it sidesteps the trap of perfection. People often quit because they believe progress must be immediate or dramatic. They set enormous goals, expect instant results, and when reality doesn't match the fantasy, they give up. By contrast, incremental improvement focuses on direction rather than speed. You don't need to double your productivity overnight. You only need to move forward, however slightly, today. That small step is manageable, even when life is busy or motivation is low. This way of thinking also builds confidence. Every time you keep a small promise to yourself, you prove that you are capable of growth. that proof accumulates. Confidence is not a mysterious gift. It is the memory of small victories repeated until they become part of your identity. The more you succeed at tiny improvements, the more you begin to trust yourself with bigger challenges. Another advantage of incremental progress is that it reveals hidden opportunities. When you commit to steady refinement, you naturally begin noticing details you once ignored. You start asking better questions, identifying small inefficiencies, and discovering creative solutions. These insights rarely arrive in a single flash of genius. They emerge slowly as your daily practice sharpens your awareness. There is also a practical strength in this method. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances shift, obstacles appear, and motivation wavers. A plan built on enormous sudden effort collapses when disruption strikes, but a plan built on small, repeatable steps is resilient. You can maintain a 5-minute practice even on a chaotic day. Those small efforts keep the momentum alive, so you never have to start over. Over time, these consistent, incremental gains compound into something remarkable. The skills you refine, the knowledge you accumulate, the discipline you build, all of it multiplies quietly until it looks, to the outside world, like sudden success. Yet you will know there was nothing sudden about it. It was the daily choice to improve, just a little, that made all the difference. Resilience is the quiet strength that separates those who achieve lasting success from those who simply start with enthusiasm but never finish. Many people begin their journey fired up with motivation. They feel inspired, fueled by a vision of what their life could be. But motivation, by its very nature, is temporary. It rises like a wave when we're excited and falls away when obstacles appear. Resilience, on the other hand, is the anchor that holds steady when the excitement fades, when progress slows, and when reality tests your resolve. Think about the moments when life doesn't cooperate with your plans. You wake up tired, the weather is gloomy, or unexpected problems demand your attention. Motivation whispers, "Take a break, you deserve it." This is where resilience steps in. It reminds you that habits are not about how you feel today, but about who you intend to become tomorrow. Resilience doesn't argue with discomfort, it accepts it as part of the process. It's the ability to keep moving when the path is steep, to keep showing up when there's no applause, and to stay consistent when no one else is watching. Building resilience starts with small, deliberate actions. It's not an inborn trait reserved for a few special people. It's a skill anyone can develop. Each time you choose to act despite fatigue or boredom, you strengthen it. Imagine it like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it grows. At first, it feels heavy to push through resistance, but with every repetition, every workout completed when you're tired, every page read when you'd rather scroll, every project worked on when distractions call, you teach your mind and body that you don't quit simply because the mood has changed. Resilience also means understanding that setbacks are not failures but lessons. A missed day, a slip in routine, or an unexpected challenge is not the end of the journey. What matters is the ability to recover quickly. Instead of wasting energy on guilt or self-criticism, resilient people ask, "What can I learn from this? How do I adjust and keep going?" This mindset transforms obstacles into stepping stones, making you stronger each time life tests your resolve. Another key to resilience is creating systems that support you when your emotions don't. Relying on willpower alone is risky because willpower is as fleeting as motivation. Systems, however, are dependable. When you set a fixed time for your work, prepare your environment, or plan your next day in advance, you remove the need for daily decision-making. The habit becomes automatic, almost mechanical, so you show up even when inspiration is nowhere to be found. This is resilience in action, designing your life so that persistence becomes easier than quitting. Perhaps the most profound aspect of resilience is identity. When you stop seeing your habits as tasks and start seeing them as part of who you are, you cross a powerful threshold. A person who tries to exercise will skip the gym when tired, but someone who sees themselves as an athlete will train because it's simply what athletes do. Resilience flourishes when your actions reflect your identity rather than your momentary feelings. Over time, this steady, quiet commitment creates results that motivation alone could never achieve. While others burn out chasing bursts of inspiration, resilient individuals build a life brick by brick, day after day. They understand that greatness is not the product of intense effort for a week or a month, but of consistent action over years. Resilience carries you through the uninspired days, the hard seasons, and the inevitable challenges that would otherwise end your progress. When you cultivate it, you no longer depend on fleeting motivation. You become unstoppable. Success is not something you chase in a frantic sprint. It is something that gradually gravitates toward you when you build the right foundation. Many people believe they must constantly hunt for opportunities, network aggressively, or wait for luck to strike. Yet the truth is far simpler and far more powerful. Success is the inevitable outcome of consistent, focused habits. When you shift your attention from chasing external rewards to mastering your internal routines, you create a natural pull that attracts achievement without force. Think of success as a shadow. A shadow never needs to be chased. It follows wherever you go, provided you keep moving in the right direction. Habits are the path you walk. When those habits are centered on discipline, learning, and perseverance, success cannot help but follow. Instead of asking, "How do I become successful?" begin asking, "What actions can I take every day that embody the life I want to live?" The moment you frame it this way, you stop worrying about outcomes and start focusing on process. Outcomes may vary, but process is always within your control. This approach demands patience. Our culture rewards speed, instant results, overnight transformations, quick fame. But real success is a slow and steady growth that emerges from thousands of seemingly unremarkable actions. Waking early to read, practicing your craft when no one is watching, saving a small percentage of income each month. These are not glamorous tasks. Yet, over time, they create a compound effect that is nearly impossible to match through sudden bursts of effort. What feels ordinary today becomes extraordinary when repeated across months and years. The beauty of focusing on habits is that it frees you from the emotional roller coaster of external validation. You no longer depend on praise or recognition to stay motivated. Each day, your routine becomes a quiet contract with yourself. Whether anyone notices or not, you know that you are moving forward. This builds a sense of confidence that no setback can shake. Even when results take time to appear, you trust the process because the process itself is rewarding. It's also important to recognize that habits shape character and character attracts opportunities. When you consistently show reliability, persistence, and a commitment to growth, people begin to see you as someone worth trusting and supporting. Opportunities naturally come to those who are known for their steady effort. You don't need to broadcast your ambitions loudly. Your daily actions speak on your behalf, sending a powerful message to the world about who you are. Of course, creating such habits requires deliberate design. You must choose actions that align with your highest values and long-term vision. Start small, but be unyielding in consistency. Over time, these routines become part of your identity. You are no longer someone who occasionally writes, exercises, learns, or saves. You are a writer, an athlete, a learner, an investor. When habits transform into identity, success becomes inevitable because your very being is tuned to the frequency of achievement. Ultimately, success arrives as a natural consequence of living with discipline and purpose. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly find success. You wake up one morning and realize you've been successful for quite some time because your habits have already built the life you once dreamed of. By dedicating yourself to the right daily actions and refusing to break that commitment, you create a magnetic force that draws opportunities, growth, and fulfillment toward you. That is why true success is not pursued, it is attracted, and it comes to those who have patiently built the habits to sustain it. If you do this again and again, then you will build it almost